Why being born a Greenland shark is bad. In today's video, we're going to be answering the question, why is being born a Greenland shark bad? Greenland sharks are some of the scariest looking animals in our oceans. They have huge gaping maws filled with sharp teeth just waiting to devour any animal unfortunate enough to swim by. However, despite their terrifying appearance, Greenland sharks are actually pretty chill and prefer to eat other fish instead of humans. But this doesn't make their lives any easier, as they often end up eating something that doesn't want to be eaten, resulting in them getting injured in the process. And if that wasn't bad enough, their wounds can get infected by a parasite called anisakis, which can cause an excruciating death for the Greenland shark. Now, before we get into why these sharks' lives are so painful, let's take a look at where they live and how they got their name. Despite being named Greenland sharks, these creatures can be found all throughout the northern hemisphere, including in the Arctic Ocean, the North Atlantic Ocean, and even in deep waters off the coast of Africa, Asia, and Europe. In fact, these sharks can survive in a wide range of different environments, from shallow coastal waters to depths of more than 200 meters. Although they prefer to stay in dark and cold waters, when they get close to the surface, it's not uncommon for them to be spotted by humans, especially since they're huge. The average length of a Greenland shark is around 3 meters long, and the biggest one ever recorded was 6.7 meters long and weighed over 1,400 kilograms. Yeah, that's bigger than a great white. Greenland sharks have been swimming around our planet for millions of years, with fossil records suggesting they first appeared about 18 million years ago. But they don't seem to mind being stuck in the past, because they've barely changed at all since then. Their bodies are perfectly suited for life in the frigid waters of the north. They have thick layers of fat underneath their skin to keep them warm, and plenty of slime to help them move through the water with ease. But their favorite adaptations have to be their eyes, which have shrunk so much over the years that they're almost invisible. Considering they like to hang out in the darkest depths of the ocean, there isn't much need for them to be able to see anyway. However, even though they're perfectly adapted for life in the deep sea, Greenland sharks still struggle to find food. Because while they may have excellent eyesight, most of them spend their lives in areas where there's virtually no light. Instead, they use special receptors in their snouts to sense electrical fields given off by other animals. This helps them hunt down prey such as squid, crustaceans, and fish, which they swallow whole. Yet despite their scary teeth, these creatures are actually quite slow and weak. It's estimated that their maximum speed is only 1.2 kilometers per hour, and most of the time they spend cruising around at 0.5 kilometers per hour. So if you ever get lost in the ocean, you might be able to outrun a Greenland shark. But their slow movement means that they take a long time to heal from injuries, and it's not unusual for them to have scars all over their bodies. These injuries aren't just caused by fights with other animals, they're also caused by parasites, but we'll get to those soon. For now, let's go back to when they're just babies. Greenland sharks can have anywhere from 5 to 12 pups in a litter, and sadly, things don't tend to look up from there. As soon as they're born, they're in a constant battle to stay alive. Newborn sharks are around 20 centimeters long and are completely blind, meaning they have to rely on their other senses to help them navigate the world. And that world is a dangerous one. Newborn sharks are very slow and can't really defend themselves, so they're easy targets for predators. If they aren't eaten by a hungry predator, they could drown. Yes, you heard us right. Sharks can drown. Greenland sharks breathe by taking in water and filtering out oxygen. But if they accidentally gulp down too much water while trying to find food or escape a predator, they can end up suffocating. Now, even if they do manage to avoid drowning, starvation is another threat they face. We mentioned before how slow they are. Well, that extends to their metabolism. Newborn sharks have extremely slow metabolisms, which means they don't need much food to survive. But unfortunately, that also means they don't grow very fast either. On average, it takes Greenland sharks 15 years to reach sexual maturity, and it can take even longer for females to be ready to reproduce. And during all this time, they're still at risk of being eaten by predators or suffering serious injuries. But if they do manage to make it to adulthood, they still have to deal with the pain inflicted by parasites. Many parasites call Greenland sharks home, with the most notable being a type of crustacean known as a copepod. Copepods live by sucking the blood of their host, and they can weaken sharks so much that they become easy targets for predators. But even if they manage to fight off the copepods, Greenland sharks still have to deal with a nasty worm called a nematode. Nematodes can live inside the eye sockets of Greenland sharks and cause them to go blind. There's also the parasite we mentioned earlier, anisakis. Now these parasites don't live on the Greenland shark, they live inside the prey that the Greenland shark eats. Once the shark has swallowed its prey, the larvae leave the dead animal and set up shop in the shark's body. Now usually they don't cause the shark too many problems, but if the larvae migrate to the wrong part of the shark's body, things can get bad. They can cause ulcers, which can lead to gangrenous and can eventually kill the shark. Although some people eat Greenland shark, they can't consume them right away. You see, Greenland sharks have a special defense mechanism that makes them taste terrible if they are eaten by a human. They're able to convert their guanine, which is normally used to store energy, into a neurotoxin that causes numbness in the mouth and even paralysis in extreme cases. So if you wanted to chow down on a Greenland shark, you would have to wait several months after it's been caught to allow the guanine levels to drop back to normal. Being a Greenland shark definitely has its downsides. Not only do they have to put up with pesky parasites and the threat of being eaten, but they also have to deal with humans. You see, overfishing is a major problem for these guys. They're often caught as bycatch when fishermen are trying to catch other types of fish, and some countries like Canada and Greenland actually eat them on purpose. Although this isn't done very often, it's still a major threat to the Greenland shark population. Thankfully, there are organizations whose job it is to protect these misunderstood creatures. One of the best things you can do is spread awareness about Greenland sharks. If people understand how unique and amazing these creatures are, then maybe they'll be more likely to support organizations that are working to protect them. So do you think you could be a marine biologist? Take our quiz to find out. Which of these animals is a vertebrate? A. Squid B, starfish C, jellyfish D, none of the above. The answer is D, none of the above. Even though sharks and fish are vertebrates, this question was only asking about the options provided. If you want to learn more about animals, be sure to subscribe to our channel.